All right, so this is our first look at Serena, the new Descendant, and this Descendant is a really interesting one because her abilities, depending on whether or not you have a Transcendent mod or not, completely change. So she can play support. She has a skill-based mod in Divine Surge that we're still kind of working out. This is going to be more of a breakdown build for her base kit, which I know people have their own feelings around, but that's what this is about. And this one is going to match her with weapons like the Gregs, and we'll show you exactly why, but also weapons like the Perforator, Albion Cavalry, and the new Malevolent. So for reactors, we just went with a skill cooldown and skill cost because we're not really building out her skill attack based build just yet. This is more of a firearm attack build, but if this is going to be really cool, right? So it just happened to land on tactical rifle. Just happens to be a really cool one for her, but um, you don't really need much of this. I went for cooldown and cost. You can also go duration. For the components, we're going to need all HP components. Doesn't have to be any set. You don't have to have set bonuses or anything, just HP max and that's going to be because of her fourth ability that I'll show you right now. So her build is built around overwhelming HP, and we have all the other kind of boosters here. So max increase HP. We're going stim. I know we're knocking MP, but it's better than knocking the shield because the shield goes into the HP here. We have a boost in weighing the scales for our shield, as well as an increased shield to kind of just boost the amount of shield that goes into that build. We're lowering the cooldown with MP conversion and nimble fingers. We're going to use shot focus to increase the attack here. And then we're going to just increase the duration. So cooldown and duration are going to be really important because her skills are, or specifically her skill 4, which is the one that we're basing around, you'll see it's 110 seconds. So we want to lower that. With this, we're lowering it to 33. So with her skill 1, you're not going to see a lot of people using this, but it's kind of just this flare that goes right in front of them, does some damage. Again, that's not really our focus of this build. Her 2 allows you to manipulate gravity, and this is what you're using to fly around and get a lot of the benefits from this. Her 3 allows you to shift around while in the sky. If you just use it while you're on the ground, you're just going to shoot straight up for a bit. And if you use it while up in the air, you're going to be able to kind of maneuver around and be a little bit more elusive and evasive. So that's kind of her kit, right? And her 4 is what we're really focusing on here because her 4 allows you to, and mainly in the sky. So when you're on the ground, you just basically remove all debuffs from everyone, yourself, and everyone else. If you use this on the floor, very specific reasons why you would use that. I would not be using it on the floor. The key to this build is using her skill 4 while in the sky, and as you can see, we lowered the cooldown to 33 seconds, and the max duration goes from 13 to 22. So there's roughly an 11-second variance where you won't be able to use this, and that's perfectly fine. But what this does, Redemption Judgment, when you use this in the air, you will trigger Redemption Judgment, which allows every one of your weapons to have AoE damage. Now, if you have the Gregs, you don't necessarily need this, but it does kind of get boosted with this ability. But with any special rounds, and we'll kind of trigger back, I'll show you exactly what that looks like with skill 2. When you're in midair, you get a bunch of buffs, right? With general rounds, you get multi-hit chance. With impact rounds, you get drop off increase plus an MP recovery when you crit. But with special rounds, so the Gregs, you get a boost in firearm damage, but you also have a boost in firearm damage specific to AoE. So it automatically triggers an AoE effect for any special round weapon. Now, this is really cool. And there's also like a high-powered one that I just didn't focus on, but it increases like fire damage. But for special rounds, like specifically around the Gregs, you automatically get the AoE, right? Again, but with the skill 4, you get this AoE triggered for every single weapon. Like, we're going to go into the lab and I'll show you exactly what this looks like. It's super cool. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the Gregs and how that's a really good synergy, but you can utilize this for a ton of weapons. So here we have some people spawned in, and we'll trigger it. Again, when you're in the air, you get a bunch of buffs, but with the Gregs, you get that AoE. So this is what it looks like with the Gregs. And again, you can use your slinger, you can use your abilities to keep yourself in the sky. You are going to be losing MP the entire time, but that's fine. Once you trigger it in the air, here it is. We're going to trigger our 4, and now you see it increases the effectiveness of that Gregs. It was already in, AoE. It was already creating that effect, and then you have bombardment that's also going to be triggering additional impact. So the weapon itself doesn't have to be the thing that does the damage, as long as there's damage being done from your weapon, even those special perks, then it's going to trigger this AoE effect and just have an insane amount of damage output. But you can use other weapons too. Again, a lot of people are going to be looking at the synergy with the Gregs, but here we are. This is the Malevolent. This is the new weapon that kind of triggers. Its base ability is going to, this is not because I'm flying, the base ability itself already kind of triggers, but now, because it's bouncing between targets, now you're getting an insane amount of damage from all of your kind of ricochets that are naturally happening. And again, it doesn't have an additional boost because you don't have the boost that you're getting naturally from being mid-air, because that's different for impact rounds, but you're still getting a really, really, really cool effect here. And now if you do something, speaking of ricochet, if you do something like the Alpine Cavalry that has a ricochet effect naturally, now I'm just going to shoot and I'm not going to do anything, right? Just going to shoot. And this is just adding additional like kind of fire damage. But once I trigger it, look at the ricochet is then amplified by the ability to have AoE damage. So it's ricocheting, all of the ricochets are triggering AoE on top of the base damage that I'm already doing. So you're doing the base damage, you're doing ricochet damage, and the ricochets themselves are triggering, and the base damage is also triggering an additional AoE on top of the ricochet. So now let's switch to something like the Perforator, right? That also has a similar kind of bombardment when you do critical hits. So I'm going to just crit, and as I'm critting, that's just going to be the natural. But when I use my 4, now you're seeing something very similar to what you notice with the Gregs, right? Because it has those 5 additional bombs, or 1 additional bomb if it's just a weak point. You just see like this doing an insane amount of damage. Let me know what you think in the comments. We will be working on different builds for Divine Surge. I just haven't like fully kind of hashed that one out, but so yeah, have fun with it, and I'll see you on the next one.